Here's the next story. And the thing is, normally I would end the news with a story like this. But there's actually a story that I feel is even worse than the story I'm about to tell. I know this is going to sound remarkable because when you hear the story, you're like, what could be worse than that? Oh, there's a worse story today, okay? But let's go through it. Today's second worst story. An Ubisoft executive who was being interviewed, all right, basically started talking about the long-term viability of subscription services and how they're going to become more viable. And that was actually one of the questions that was posed to the executive. They said, you know, right now you have Ubisoft Plus, but how are you going to market that and spin it to people that this is the what they want to do rather than just buying your games outright, right? And the executive, I kid you not, said the following. Ready? He says, gamers need to get comfortable with not buying and owning games. Seriously. He says, gamers need to start feeling comfortable with not owning any games that you play. That the subscription model makes it viable that you can play as many games as you want, but you don't actually own it, right? Now, what's funny is, after this executive said that, all right, the internet overnight exploded. Like this, overnight is when this story happened, and everyone's going crazy. Oh my God, don't you see? This is the scam. This is exactly what they want from you. They want you to not own anything. They want you to always have to keep paying them the almighty dollar every month, whether or not you're actively playing their games or not, to have access to their games. This is Jasper saying this. To have access to their games, it's the evil corporate cycle. Right, Jasper? Right. Okay. I'm glad we're on the same page about that. All right? However, I do have another thing to add to this. That's something that I've been saying for years, and I'm sorry to say, people are just kind of ignorant about the subject. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have news to break to you, and you may not be aware of this. I swear some people probably are not aware of this. You do not own any video games. Particularly in this modern digital era. You own absolutely no video games. You know that collection you have over here to the side of your room or in your closet? You don't own those. I'm serious. That's not your property. I'm serious. People don't get that though. They're like, "Wait, what? I don't get that." Right? No, here's the deal. You own a license to play that software. That is what you own. You don't own the software. If you truly owned the software, you would have the right to copy and distribute or sell that software. Why is it that legally you cannot copy a game and give it to a friend or sell it on the internet? Because you don't own it. You just own the rights to play it. And it's always been like that. The only time I think that that's never been the case is back in the day when they used to have shareware. Do you remember shareware? That was when a game was free. Truly, that's why they called it shareware. They gave you the rights to copy and distribute it. They didn't care. They just wanted to get their names out there as game developers, and that's how it worked. Okay? But in the modern day, you don't own any games at all. If you own a disc, if you own a cartridge or a little memory card, if you own any version of a game, you just have the rights to play it. You don't have the rights to copy or sell it. That's the truth. Now, in reality, most or all game publishers, companies, and distributors don't enforce the rules. Meaning, right now, you could buy a video game and then go trade it in or resell it. And no one stops you. But, did you know it's against the rules? It is. Go check out any contract that you officially sign when you buy a video game, and it'll say right in the contract that you are not able to resell. It says it right in there. It's always said it, but no one enforces it. You know? So, that's the truth. People are freaking out when an executive says, well, people got to get used to the fact they don't own video games. What do you mean? What do you mean is that they're just reiterating the truth. They're reiterating the facts of what's true right now. You don't own any video games. You just think you do. There's been this misinformation campaign and mentality for so many years. People with giant walls of games think they own them. No, you don't. You don't. I don't get it, you know? Like, it's just kind of weird that there's these misinformation campaigns get spread, right? So, you know, it is what it is. What do I think about subscription services? In some cases, I think they're great. I think that if you get Ubisoft Plus or you get Game Pass or you get PS Plus, right? Or any of these others, because there's other companies that are now doing it. You know, whatever they'll be called. I'm sure that one day they'll have the Rockstar Pass and they'll have shit like that, right? In fact, how much you want to get? Bet they'll call it Rockstar Pass. I almost guarantee you they will. That's because that kind of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? I get the feeling, just like now with Netflix, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, Hulu, it's going to be the same. You have to subscribe to each individual company, publisher, whatever, and then you will get access to their catalog of games on demand in perpetuity unless something happens to change licensing rights. And this is actually what happened just recently. Was it Sony? It was one of these major companies had announced, oh, we're going to lose the rights to all these shows. So if you had bought them previously, you got to download them and keep them on your hard drives forever. If you don't, you'll never be able to watch the shows again because we're losing the rights to them. And then all of a sudden they went back on that and said, oh, we were able to extend the rights for like another 2 years or something like that, right? So that's the weird part. In reality, do you really own anything? I mean, if you say, well, I own a DVD set. Well, technically you do, and technically you can watch it whenever you want, but you can't copy it. You can't resell it. You're not allowed to. People still do, but legally you're not allowed to. There's just no enforcement. You see? So technically what the Ubisoft exec is saying is actually correct, and I don't like agreeing with executives. I hate Ubisoft. Yves Guillemot, I don't like that guy at all. I think he's a jerk. But it doesn't mean that when an executive says something like this, that it's not true. It actually is. And eventually what's going to happen is a few things will probably happen. I think eventually everything's going to go all digital. You're never going to see physical copies of games ever again. And that's going to kind of finally sever that mentality and connection between I own it because I hold it, right? If you can't hold it anymore, if every game now is full digital and you can't hold them anymore, technically you'll lose that feeling of physical ownership and that mentality might go away. And then a lot more people may actually feel like they now have a digital library or catalog only and understand that the only way that that catalog persists or continues is if you keep doing some kind of a subscription fee. Right? Again, it's going to be, I feel, the same as Netflix, Disney Plus, right? You have to pay that sub every month, and as long as you do, you still get the content. If you stop paying it, you'll lose the content. It seems like that's where we're headed. Now, overall, in the scheme of things, for someone who's a full-time gamer or someone who plays a ton of games, a hardcore gamer, these things benefit hugely. Game Pass, Ubisoft Plus, PS Plus, just by having those 3 subscriptions, you could get a ton of games a year that normally you would have bought outright, and you'll save money. It's true. But for a common gamer who maybe doesn't play games as often, maybe you see this as a ripoff. Man, you're telling me I got to subscribe to like 3 services a month just to get access to like 2 games that I want? I need PS Plus to play online. I need Ubisoft Plus to play the game, right? I get it. I can totally understand. And by the way, it is absolutely true that these companies at any moment's notice can just say, we remove a game from there, tough shit. Goodbye. Can't play it ever again. And what rights do you have to complain? 0. You have no rights to complain or do anything about it. That's just how it is, right? So the times they are a-changing, as they say. The thing is, we were already heading towards this direction for decades. It's just that people lived in denial. They felt that because they had their wall of games over here, that they owned the games, that was the way to go, when in reality, they never did. They want to believe the lie and think that everything is unicorns and rainbows, when in reality, we've been heading towards this all-digital age for a very long time, and there's not much you can do about it. Everything is going digital now. You either deal with it or you don't mess with that content. What else are you going to do? Shareware? I guess you're just going to play shareware games from now on. All right? So I'll see ya on your Commodore 64s playing the Chex PC video game, Chex Quest, killing the Soggies or whatever they were called or whatever, right? I'll see you on PC in the 1990s, I guess. Okay. All right.